right, I'm going to bring to order the meeting of the Green Bay Sex Offenders Residency Board for January 8th, 2020. We have everybody here, so I don't think we need to go through a roll call. Next thing is approval of the agenda. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, approval of our minutes from our December 11th meeting. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second them.
All right, our first appeal that we'll be hearing is Mr. Krasanik.
Right.
Sir, why don't you come on up? All right, Mr. Krasanik, we're here to hear your appeal to move to 1630 Janice Avenue, apartment number 9, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's going to happen today is we're going to go over your case. We ask that you just refer to the person as the victim, not by their surname or, or their personal name, if that's all right.
Aye.
And then the second thing is if we talk about any treatment programs, you have the right to do that either in public session or in private session, which would you prefer? Public fine?
Right.
It's fine? Okay. All right, great. Okay, so it looks like your offense was back in 1993, is that correct? And the victim was 13 years old?
Correct.
All right. And your charge was second-degree sexual assault. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, just,
Without the name of the...
Yeah, name related. Just refer to the person as the victim.
the victim called and wanted me to give her a ride. That was in August when Art Fest was going on.
Okay.
And she wanted me to give her a ride down to Art Fest, and I told her I had a headache and I didn't want to go. So a little while later, she calls back, and I was outside and I was living with my dad at the time. My dad answered the phone. So when I came in the house, Dad told me that she had called in, and why don't you, take her there. And I said I didn't want to go. Well, then a little while later, her dad called. And so then I said, well, I can take her.
Okay.
So I went and picked her up. I think I need to say this, that how I got to know the victim was at that time I had a duplex at 113.
You don't need to say that. You just have to
Maple
go to duplex and
Street.
she was a
And
renter there?
Her parents
Rented from you?
Her parents lived in the front apartment, and when they first moved in, I lived in the back apartment.
Okay.
Okay, so we went, and she met her friends, and we made arrangements that we were to meet at on 9:30. So the victim and her girlfriend went their way, and I went my way. Well, we met at 9:30, and we were on the way home, driving over the West Mason Street Bridge, And I asked the victim if she knew what it meant when a guy was horny. And she put my hand on took my hand and put it on her crotch.
Did you ultimately have intercourse with the victim?
No.
What else did you do besides that?
Well, she claims that I didn't, being an adult, but I guess I wasn't really acting like an adult, but I should have took my hand out of there faster than I did.
Okay, so is that all you did is you had your hand in her crotch? Is that all that happened?
I might have rubbed it or
Okay, how did it come about that she turned you in for this crime? You know what happened? Did she tell her parents what happened?
Well, she, when I dropped her off at her parents' house, she said, "What do you think?" I get just how she worded it. That's so long ago. What do you think my parents are going to say when I tell them? And I just, I guess I didn't say anything.
So she told her parents, and then the police came.
Some sergeant from the police department called me up and told me that he would like for me to come down and talk to him. So I went down and talked to him, and I told him the whole truth, you know, what happened and everything. And then on
So then,
New Year's Eve day, I got a letter from the court that I had to go to.
so how did you plead?
Pardon?
How did you plead to the case? Did you plead guilty, or did you go through a trial?
No, I didn't plead guilty, I plead, I can't think of the word.
Is it no contest?
Right.
Okay.
That's my attorney, Mr. Finney.
Okay. Officer, is that correct in terms of the record and how you see it? In terms of how you described it?
The way he described it, his statement is consistent with how he existed in the girl.
Okay. All right. So it looks like then you, here a second, sorry. So you didn't do any time in jail, you just did 4 years probation, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Your current address is 1166 Blue Ridge Drive, how long have you lived there?
Cindy, 3 years, 4 years. My sister-in-law Cindy and my brother Pat, and that's who I live with now.
So you lived there 3 or 4 years. So it looks like you didn't come in front of the board to live there. So basically you were living there against
We
the
went,
regs.
we went to Ashwaubenon Police Department.
Oh, so it's Green Bay address, but it's in Ashwaubenon.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're aware of interest.
Okay, all right. Okay, so why are you looking to move?
Pardon?
Why are you looking to move?
To get, I just like to have my own place.
Okay.
And we went, Cindy and I went and looked at the apartment, and it's the first time in all those years of looking for an apartment that the lady said she would rent to me.
Okay. And you're just gonna live by yourself?
Yes, I lived in De Pere by myself for 2 years, maybe a little more.
Okay. I'm assuming you're retired at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have any more questions for him in regards to the, the offense or why he's moving? All right, does anybody want to talk about any treatment programs that he's had?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Have you had any mental health treatment regarding the crime you committed?
I had, went to Family Services, and
It was Jim
I
Drake.
can't think of his, first name is Jim,
Yeah, Jim Drake.
right, and I don't know, I think I went for 4 years.
And he provided these payment records.
And when was the last time you went to see Mr. Drake?
Oh my gosh,
Think of those.
well, for, I would say, 98, 99.
Okay, thank you.
What is the Lakeland Care Support? What is that?
They, Sandy, maybe you can explain it better than.
Am I allowed to?
Ma'am, if you want to come up and speak, we just need your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Cindy Krasanik, and my address is 1166 Blue Ridge Drive, Green Bay, 54304.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I am Tom's sister-in-law. Tom has been tested. Well, I had him tested at the, through Purveya. I can't remember the name of the woman that tested him for cognitive problems because he was, when he was raised, he was raised, they never did any cognitive testing or anything on him. He's, I think, Tom, did you go through 9th grade or 10th grade?
I
can't
went
remember.
I went to the 10th grade,
10th
but
grade.
I was 18 when
okay.
I finished the 10th grade.
Well, and his health was failing, and when he was asked to leave Mason Manor, he was living at Mason Manor. He was asked to leave there when they moved a woman in with a child. And they called us one day and he had to be out the next. So, that was quite a shock to all of us. Anyway, so, I got him tested and I knew that he was probably going to need some help. And so, I got him hooked up with Lakeland Care. It's a care facility that, someone comes in, once a week and takes him, grocery shopping, helps him with his laundry, helps him, make his bed, clean, do all that sort of thing. And then I also got him hooked up with Curative, adult day program. He goes there 4 days a week. And he no longer drives, so they pick him up 4 days a week and bring him to and from Curative workshop. He is residing with us right now, but he is living down our basement. The steps are getting more difficult for him. And so we have been looking for a place for him to live, whether it be an assisted living, an apartment, and we have gotten nowhere with anybody, and we have looked at probably 50 to 60 different facilities. Nobody would take him because of his offense. this Lori Frank, who is the landlord of this little apartment on Janice Street, I can honestly say she was the first person that gave us any hope at all. So that's why we're here.
Okay.
And are those the villa apartments?
That's Villa West.
Villa West.
That's not, this is behind there.
Okay.
This is privately owned. Tom is not allowed to reside in any place that has subsidized housing
Okay.
any longer, so he has to pay for this out of his own resources.
Okay. Any more questions for her? Okay. Any more questions for him? All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
Was there someone else who wanted to speak?
My husband, I
Is-
think
So you can go ahead, ma'am.
okay.
Sir, if you want to come on up.
You wanna come up?
And just name your name and address again.
Hi, I'm Patrick,
Is it Cheryl?
Yeah.
reside in 1166 Blue Ridge Drive, Ashwaubenon. I'm a little bit younger than Tom, but he has lived with us for those couple of years, and it's just been difficult to try to find.
Trying to find him.
Do you think he's going to be okay living by himself in terms of, you know, of
Yes.
not, you know, it's been a long
I
time
think
since
everybody
his
should have,
offense.
he wants his own independence. And with this,
We have the support
Lakeland?
hooked up.
Okay.
a lot of support there.
And they're willing to up the time if needed, you know, they're willing to.
Right, they've been pretty good. Curative's been,
Curative has
Very
been
good.
excellent, Lakeland has been very good also, and they're willing to give him the support he needs, because we have looked into all that, because we've also have had concerns. But, you know,
he's not going alone, we're gonna be, you know,
Well, I mean,
we'll be
we'll-
over there
we'll
too
be there to
watching
support,
stuff like
but-
that. But where he lives now, you know, he has the ability to live by himself right now. How long will that be?
We're
Who
not
knows
sure.
before he goes into
before we
a
have to do
nursing home,
something.
before any of us go into a nursing home. But I think anybody should have that independence to
If
be
they
able to
want.
live alone. And he does have, not our care, but he's also got Lakeland and a lot of other people.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
thank you. Can you give us an idea of when we would hear from the board?
Oh, you're gonna hear
Oh, right.
right now.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we'll have a result for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anything else anybody wants to hear from him about?
I just want one question to ask. How are you gonna occupy your days? What are you gonna be doing? You're living alone?
Well, curative, 4 days,
Mhm.
that, take care of 4 days.
Okay. And how long is it? Like 4 hours or something? Or-
No, that's from usually, usually get there about 9 in the morning, and it's either leave at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. All depends on what day. Monday and Friday are 3 o'clock. Tuesday and Thursday is 2 o'clock, and Wednesday is my day off. I don't go on Wednesday.
Okay.
And that's really made a big change in my life, character.
Okay, well, that's
Re-
good.
Really, it's just,
So, I mean, are you gonna watch TV at home, or you don't?
oh, and I don't watch TV, I like to watch that old ones, Gunsmoke.
Well, me too.
And now, I belong to St. Agnes Parish,
Okay,
and now, especially in the summer and fall, I'll be able to walk to church. So I would like to go more. They have things going on nights during the week, other than Mass on Saturday or Sunday.
okay.
All right. All right, anything else? All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Krasnick to 1630 Janice Avenue, number 9, address specific.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion anybody wants to have? All right, then we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, sir, you've been approved to Janice Street, address specific. Do you want it sent there or to your current location, the notice of your approval?
Sent to Janice Street.
Okay, we'll send it there. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Next is Mr. Jazarek.
Jurassic.
Jurassic?
Yes, sir.
Sir, why don't you come on up?
Sure, absolutely. A little Walker congestion there.
All right, sir, we're here to hear your appeal to 1617 Boulevard Street, number 18. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Again, we're gonna talk about your particular case, which is ask you to refer to the person as the victim. And second of all, we will go over any treatment plans. You have the right to do that either in public or private session, which would you prefer?
In public's fine. I do have a letter from my therapist, so.
Okay. So first, why don't you tell us what happened in your case and how you were caught?
Well, long story short, I've been a user, addicted pornography for years, principally adult pornography. I got sucked into marginal pornography, which in retrospect, when I think about it, certainly was at least apparent underage pornography. And I was a collector of it. It was all internet-based, but I would save copies of images. To tell you how severe my problem was with pornography in general, I had, at the time I was caught, I think about 50,000 images. Of that, I believe that the forensic people identified 150 questionable images being underage. I was caught when my son, underage son, got involved in some variety of things, and the police had requested that I turn over my computer because he said he was using it for emails, in part using it for emails. I turned over my computer, they did a search, they found the underage images on it. I was charged with 11 counts, I believe, underage pornography. That was eventually reduced to 1 count, which I pled no contest to. I was sentenced to 8 years, 3 years initial confinement, 5 years supervision. I completed that. I was released early because there was an error in the calculation of credit, so I was released in July 16th, something like that, maybe 20th of this year. Lived at TOP for a number of months, was technically homeless for a period of time, and then I found this place on Bodart Street beginning of January, which is a rooming house. But it's more than sufficient for my needs because I have MS and it's pretty severe. In April, I was unable to walk one day. I was paralyzed from the waist down. So I've been pretty lucky to be able to come back even with a walker.
What did you do prior to your conviction?
Just prior, I was a manager at Schrader's Flowers Wholesale Division.
Okay.
Before that, I worked in retail for a while at Kohl's, I think for 5.5, 6 years. Was the owner of several businesses prior to that time. Ran into legal issues and problems with that in 1999. And then prior to that, I was a practicing attorney. I was a trial attorney for 8, 10 years, something like that.
Okay. So how do you, in terms of living at this particular place, how are you going to pay for it?
I have a pending disability application with Social Security. I believe all the investigation is now done with that. In fact, I received a call last week with a follow-up from their determination board, which is some vocational questions about what I did vocational work in the past and could I do anything, etc. So I'm anticipating I'm going to hear this month with it. Until the time that I get approval on that. My family's been good enough to loan me money to pay for the housing right now, and I'm very appreciative of that. Um, It's, even when it was a big expense, I was living on a motel on and off with weather, et cetera, but it becomes very difficult this time of year with Packer season, et cetera, playing around those dates. And it became very trying with my health. I did need, with MS, rest is very important. You need regular rest, regular homestead, but there's so many other reasons why it's nice to have that place to work from, whether it's with rehabilitation. My doctor said I can try driving again. Don't know if I'm ready or not, but they want me to go through some vocational rehabilitation testing for that purpose, et cetera. So, and this apartment is very convenient as far as being on the public transportation lines. It's my limitation of walking is really 2 blocks or less, so I'm really lucky I've found a place to be the closest within a block of the bus stop. So,
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions in regards to his offense?
I do. Your offense going back in 2002, was your probation revoked?
yes,
Okay, and I'm sorry, was your probation extended?
no.
Okay.
My original conviction for the bank fraud and bank fraud, practicing law, 2 counts of that. I had signed as a vice president of president of the corporation instead of president, or vice versa. Those issues, that was under the old law, so it was for 1999 conduct. So the laws had changed as of 2000, how they were dealing with sentencing, et cetera. So I was revoked on probation, went to prison initially for 15 months or 18 months, I think it was, on that, and then I was released under parole, mandatory release. So hopefully that answers your question. It's a little bit confusing.
And
so.
then that parole was subsequently revoked because of the pornography?
No, my original sentence on that matter was for essentially probation.
Okay.
I had done a few months, and I think I did 9 months in Huber initially.
Okay.
And then that part, the probation was revoked when I was released from prison in 2016. I was on parole then for that.
Okay.
I served out my parole in county jail, waiting for these charges to be resolved.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other more questions on his offenses?
No, but I just did have a question. Are you currently residing at that address?
I am, yes. So I was placed on the bracelet monitor as a homeless person. So as soon as I found the place, I petitioned to get the board to review it for me.
So you moved in on January 1st?
I think it was the 2nd, actually, yes.
All right, talking about your treatment programs, you say you're enrolled right now?
I enrolled with Family Services with Jim Drake. He did,
Dean, I don't think there was a formal waiver.
Yeah, I did ask him in the beginning.
Did you? I'm
Yep,
sorry,
yes.
my hearing's off.
Yep. No problem.
Did you say this was a boarding house?
it's a rooming house, not, they don't provide meals or anything, but it's a
No.
very small room, shared bathroom, et cetera, all males, all adults.
Okay.
Is it above a bar by any chance?
I'm sorry?
Is it above a bar?
It's actually next to a bar. It's next to Jill's Bar.
Okay.
Same owners of the 2 properties. The Residency is a brick building next to Jill's.
Okay, so you've had 17 sessions with Jim Drake.
Correct.
What have you learned?
Been very helpful for a lot of reasons. I've recognized number one is the victimization of pornography. And that is not a victimless crime. Not only does it affect the person whose image it is, but it has multiple effects afterwards. Every time you click on an image, it promotes commerce to whoever's involved in it to go out and look at others, underage people, etc., and take advantage of them. They cannot, for many reasons that they don't have any ability to give legitimate consent or etc. And they may be from many other countries too, very economically depressed sometimes, etc. Personally, what I learned about is to identify the risk factors and the triggers that caused my viewing of pornography, my viewing of child pornography, etc. And once those risk factors are identified or the triggers are seen, I can take some action to avoid further activity in this.
So what are your triggers?
Boredom, stress, the non-traditional factors that you look at. The other triggers are visual, being in the past, seeing substitute pornography on television could be a trigger to take a look on the internet for active pornography, etc. So it's just avoiding those issues or dealing with them better in the case of boredom or stress, etc. I found out that dealing with them in counseling, I'm much more capable of opening up and talking about these issues with the counselor, as well as many other issues that may be happening in my life, whether it's stress or physical issues, etc.
So, I mean, if you would describe yourself today, where are you at with your compulsion?
With the counseling, with the tools that I've learned there, it's under control. I don't feel very strong compulsion anymore. Part of that is because my getting older, etc., my libido is really depressed. It may be with the MS, it may be medications for it, etc. But overall, I don't feel that, since I've been released, there's one time it occurred to my brain to, I wish I could go on the internet. It wasn't to look at child pornography, it was just to search some celebrity issue or something that was coming up. But I immediately identified that as being another one of those risk factors, and even though I don't have any access to the internet, etc., I just was able to deal with it very, very well and put it in its place. But I'm cognizant that those issues will always be there.
Is that part of your condition of probation that you cannot be on a computer?
Currently, yes. Yeah. It was, we've talked about, there's a possibility I might get my old job back on a part-time basis, etc. There's a lot of use of computers there, and so that we have to be, if it comes up, my agent wants to be very, very careful about how I use what I have access to, etc. On the computer.
Right.
What job would that be?
That was being an office position in Schrader's Flowers, Polsing, so, which I'm very lucky. My old boss has been very helpful, very supportive of me, and as well as one of my co-workers. He actually comes to visit to make sure that I'm doing okay and keeping my mind in the right place.
So what do you do during the day?
I meditate a lot. Because using public transportation, I get around very well. If I have 2 or 3 appointments a week, that burns up probably 3 to 4 hours a day when I go to these appointments. I do watch television in the morning, in the afternoon. I'm a news junkie, sometimes too extensively, so because it can be depressing sometimes. So, and I do read a lot, and I do a lot of puzzles with to help my cognitive issues. I'm afraid that I'm going to be tested. I'm afraid I'm losing some of my cognitive abilities with the MS. So.
And your support system?
My primary support system is long distance. It's my dad who lives in La Crosse, and he's just been a real blessing for me. And it's, you know, he keeps me honest about what I'm doing regarding all this and treatment, etc. But he's a real good sounding board for how I'm feeling otherwise and health-wise, etc. etc. I've been able to reestablish some relationship with my daughter. She lives in Chicago, but we talk on the phone. And then Charles Schrader's, he said he's been, not, maybe once every 2-3 weeks I talk to him. And then Yuri Shervin, who is now the general manager of the wholesale division at Schrader's, has been, recently has been coming on board and being supportive, so.
I did not hear, or if you did, I missed it. How long were you looking at pornography before you were caught? How long?
Pornography in general,
Mhm.
a long time. It was probably 15 years.
And so then the only treatment you've had is since August?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep, I never thought viewing pornography, adult pornography, was a problem in my psyche. I didn't realize in the past how many things it affected in my life. It took away time from relationships. I didn't spend enough time with my wife because of it. I would take that time to get her out of the way so I could view pornography. Sometimes it seemed, and affected my relationships with my children. I feel really bad about that. That I didn't miss a lot in our lives, thanks for the important milestones, but I could have participated a lot more than I did. It was a terrible, terrible mistress for me, to be honest with you.
Like, how much time would you spend in it, looking at it?
I would probably an hour a day. And if there's some days, like on the weekend, if I didn't have anything to do, I'd spend the whole afternoon. It's,
So how long are you gonna be seeing Jim Drake?
I'm mandated for 1-year treatment.
Okay, okay.
That's what I'm mandated for. I'm so happy in dealing with Jim that I want to continue as long as I can afford to do it, as long as I have the insurance, et cetera. Even beyond that year, to maintain some kind of relationship with somebody who's doing a reality check on where I am is really, really important. So not I don't mean to say just with the pornography. I mean, I suffer with depression as a common side effect of MS, et cetera. So it's good to have somebody else to talk to have a visual perspective on whether or not I have other issues too.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any more questions for him? Anybody want to speak either for or against him? All right, does anybody want to make a motion? I'm willing to make a motion to allow Mr. Jerzyk
Yes, sir.
to move to 617 Boulder Street, apartment number 18, for a term of 120 days, after which time he'd come back and tell us how that transition's going and how his continued treatment programs are going.
Second it.
Any discussion? All right, does everybody want to vote?
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, sir, you've been approved to 617 Boulder Street. You're gonna have to come back in approximately 4 months.
Okay.
And that letter will tell you that date. If you fail to show, then you'll automatically be denied.
Okay.
So please make sure you come to it, and then we're gonna wanna know, how you're doing. Another letter from Jim Drake to see how it's continuing to go would help in that manner.
Okay, and that's fine. Anything else that I should work on to report to you guys with? Or just with the treatment letter, et cetera?
Treatment letter, and then just, what other things you're doing over the next 120 days.
Okay.
If you've gotten more involved than anything else, it'd be great to know.
Sounds fair. Thank you very much.
All right. Got kicked out. Do we want to bring up the next person until I walk back in?
Mr. Jay Vandehei?
All right, Mr. Van Hyne, just, let me get back to where I was, apologize. It looks like you're moving to, you want to move to 928 J Street, is that correct?
Smith.
Smith Street?
Smith Street.
Okay. Just bring up the file here. Again, we're going to talk about your case. Please just again refer to the person as the victim as we talk
Yes.
about this. And then second of all, again, if we want to talk about your treatment programs, you'd rather do that either in public, private session, which would you prefer?
Public is fine.
Okay. So it looks like you were at the TLP, and your case was back in May of '97, is that correct?
Yes.
So it looks like your victim was 13 years old, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so tell us what happened.
There are two different victims.
Right, yep, let's just talk about the first one.
I had her over on a visit. It was my weekend to have.
To see the victim?
Yes. And my victim was complaining of a backache. So I rubbed her back a little bit that night, earlier in the evening. And then we just watched TV. And during the night, she was staying upstairs, and I was sleeping downstairs on the couch. I went upstairs to use the restroom, and I saw she was awake, and I went in there and asked her how her back was. She said it was still sore. I started rubbing her back some more. And as I was rubbing her back, I reached around and touched her breast, and she stopped me, and I rubbed her back a little bit more. Then I asked her to turn over and touched her pubic hair, and then she stopped me, and I left. I looked and saw the look in her eyes, and it scared me that I could do something like that, and I went downstairs, and I actually cried for what I did. Approximately an hour later, there was a knock at the door, an hour to 2 hours later, somewhere around there. It was the sheriff's department coming to pick me up. She called her mother, and then she had the victim call the police department, and reported it, and I was arrested.
Okay, so that was in May of '97.
Yes.
Then you had a second offense from September of '96 to January of '97, right?
Yes.
With a 5-year-old, what happened there?
My wife and I were watching, babysitting the victim, and I was working shift work, and this happened over a period of time. When she was out driving school bus, I would take her in the bathroom just about 3 or 4 times, and I would blindfold her and have her perform oral sex on me, and I would tell her not to do that. And then the last time I did that, I heard somebody downstairs, and I told her to stand in the shower, and I left the bathroom, and she came out later. She did not report that. Oh, I was called like in September of '03, somewhere around there, come in and talk to the detective at the police department. And that's when I disclosed it.
Okay.
Talked about it.
So to both offenses, did you plead guilty?
Yes.
You did, okay.
Yes.
And when were you released?
November 12th of 19.
Okay. Sir, does that make sense to the records?
That is accurate.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is the 5-year-old victim you were doing this to prior to the 13-year-old, but then you said you had remorse for the 13-year-old. Didn't you think you had a problem with the 5-year-old
Yes,
prior
I
to the
did.
13-year-old?
Yes. I don't take anything that I've done lightly. I've got remorse for everything that I've done. I mean, I regret it so much. And I don't know if this is gonna help anything, but April of last year, I believe it was April 12th, I think it was, something like that. I had a parole hearing. My victim from the 97 case and the victim's mother from the 96-97 case were there. I got to listen to their victim impact statement, It hurt. I was angry at myself for what I'd done. And I needed to hear what they went through because I didn't know, I know what I did. I assumed the effect that it had on them because I had no contact with them. It did me a world of good to hear that, how it affected their lives.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions on the facts?
I'm sorry, I missed the date of the conviction date of the offense with the 5-year-old.
I was sentenced on September 2nd of 2004.
Okay.
So, since you've been out, what have you been doing?
I've been trying to find a place to live. That was my focus, trying to get some addresses of places to live, working with my agent to help me with my coping skills, to deal with disappointments, the rejection, which is what I learned was one of my biggest problems, and to reconnect with my brother and sister, to get, build up my support system. The past 2 weeks now I've been applying for jobs, and I haven't had any luck. I just got a denial letter today from one individual, one company, and but I took that as a positive because of the good things that they said. So I've been trying to, like I said, my focus has been on finding a place to live, and that took up a lot of time. It's hard to find somebody that would rent to a sex offender. I mean, and I've even talked to a couple of apartment managers, and everybody has treated me with total respect and no judgment. Since I've been released, I haven't had a negative situation with anybody that I've come in contact with. It's been positive. That helps me, but it still doesn't. I still know what I did, and I know at some point in time somebody's going to say something. But I'm reestablishing a new support system at the same time. I'm going to see this pastor at a church behind St. Mary's Hospital by the TLP. I got to talk to him tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It turns out he used to be a sex offender PO down in Texas. I got hooked up with him through the chaplain at Oshkosh Correctional. I've got another mentor who lives in Little Chute that I talk to at least once or twice a week on the phone, and we meet once a week. And I got to call him. He called me today to wish me luck, and he's attached with a church down in Neenah. I got to know him through Oshkosh Correctional as well. So I've been trying to reestablish a support system. I've been waiting on my assessment for treatment. I know that's going to be coming. Maybe I'm jumping ahead too much, but I'm working real close with my agent. I've had one slip up since I've been out. I got my curfew time mixed up. I thought it was 8 p.m. And at 6 o'clock, because I got the GPS monitoring, I got a call. I was at my sister's house, just finished dinner. They said, why you past your curfew? I said, it was 8 o'clock, isn't it? He said, no, it's 6 o'clock. Immediately I left. And that was, I think, November 25th, and I spent 2 nights at the county jail for that. And I did a lot of reflecting on it. It taught me that I gotta pay close attention to what I do. And it helped me see the severity of how important it is to be compliant and do what I have to do to remain compliant.
On your appeal form, you put in that you had a job lined up to start in January, February in Oshkosh. That didn't go through?
I can still have that. I had the one interview, this was in like mid-December, I think I went down and talked to, I forgot his name, it was my brother-in-law owns the company. It's the general manager down there, and he said it's a little slow right now. So I really don't care to drive down to Oshkosh every day to go to work.
I have a question on that, yeah.
I mean, I love to drive my truck, but in the wintertime, it's 45 minutes each way. And,
In your papers, you had talked about going to Outagamie County. Is that still?
no.
No.
It was, I had one place lined up, and it cost me $700 some because I had to pay a month's rent, and it didn't work out. When the agent from Appleton went to check it out, there was a walking trail next door and then a dance studio. From what my sister said, it was a mile away. I don't know for sure. My sister, she's been checking up, and she has been a blessing.
Where did you live prior to your incarceration?
I lived in Oneida with my parents just before I got locked up. And then I lived for about three or 4 years. I lived on Wedgewood Drive, an apartment building on my own.
In Green Bay?
Yes, I've lived in Green Bay off and on all my life. Actually, I'm from the Oneida area, but I've been in the Green Bay area.
I have a question about your support system. Well, maybe we should wait and talk about, are you going to go further depth with treatment? Or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can start right now. I mean,
Okay.
if we're through talking about his case directly. So go ahead.
Question for you about your support system. How long have you known all these people? You list your sister, Roxanne, and your brother, and then you listed some friends, like Jeff Nowak.
I've known Jeff Nowak for close to 40 years.
Okay.
His parents and my parents were like this. We were close friends.
Mhm.
And Jeff he stood by me through this whole thing. And he's been down to visit me a few times at Oshkosh and at Waupun.
Mhm.
And I've been to his house a couple different times to go visit him and talk to him. And he drives truck, so he's not in town all the time, but we try to have contact once a week. We try to do things when he's in town. Per agent approval. I mean, I run everything past her. I just got to see him the day after Christmas. I was able to go out to dinner with my brother and sister and her husband and Jeff for Christmas dinner, because I couldn't go to Christmas parties that my brother and sister went to because of my victim was there Christmas Eve, and there was kids there at both my sister's house on Christmas Day and my cousin's house Christmas Eve, so I just stayed at the TLP. And
Okay. So in reading some of the background information you provided, they seem to have some concerns yet. First of all, they recommend obviously continuing treatment. So have you done anything to move towards some additional treatment programs?
yes, I am working with my agent right now. I just signed the paperwork for an assessment, whether I'm going to be doing like an SO4, continuing SO4 treatment like I did at Oshkosh, or go into aftercare. I'm open to whatever they want me to do. That's a treatment that I want to do. I've done treatment before I went into prison, and I was in treatment. I took the intensive program while in prison, just over a 2-year program.
Yeah, your assessment is fairly detailed in terms of your status and where they believe you're at. The big thing that draws some concern for me, based upon what I've read here, is the fact that if you become isolated, that kind of triggers some depression and anxiety in you.
Yes.
Okay. So with your support system not being the strongest, I'm a little concerned about how that's going to affect you. You don't have a job yet, so you don't know how you're going to work your days out yet in terms of what you're doing. Have you looked at you know, any temp agencies to start working in?
Yes, this past weekend and up until today, I think I've filled out like 12 different applications. I got the website from this lady at Sofadale called Indeed.com. I'm going on there. I had a call just before we started here for a job. She was calling about that. I said, I met a meeting up. She said, call me back in the morning. So I am trying and I'm talking. And the biggest thing that I've learned in all my treatment is communication. And one of the quotes that I came up with for me while I was in treatment is, how are you gonna know what I'm thinking or feeling if I don't tell you? So communication is so vital to me. I'm in contact with my first ex-wife. She's been my support, my biggest support through my whole program. She knows the highs and the lows and everything in between. So I talk to her a lot every day. My sister talks to me every day. They have a house down in Florida, that's where they're coming up here. In the winter months, they don't come up as much. We have conversations every day. I was at my brother's house today. He asked me how I'm doing. I've got a mentor that I talk to at least once a week. I think I mentioned that. And we get together at least once a week. He called me this morning to see how I was doing. And he keeps me talking. And I've been receiving positive information from the two interviews that I had about being so open and talking. When I get depressed, when I get feeling that way, I call somebody. Right now, I wrote up a safety plan last week and I had to revise it this week. I just turned it into my agent today in case of I'm at Walmart shopping and there's an aisle full of kids. What am I going to do? I avoid it or I leave. I always make sure I got my own vehicle. Wherever I go, I take my own vehicle so I can get out of there. That's my number one thing. But I also know that I got to call somebody and let them know what's going on. And I live by 3 letters, CYA, call your agent. And let them know what's going on. Like I said, in my relapse prevention plan, I wrote down a form of communication 24 times in there, how important that is to me.
Okay. Any more questions in regards to treatment programs?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the report, it's repeatedly has whoever wrote the report, different individuals, concerns about your relationship with your ex-wife.
It's up and down, but we talk about things. Right now, she's still living in Indianapolis, and she'd like to come up here for a visit to see to see how things go for a short period of time, like a week. Then she's going back down. But we talk every day.
That, I will be honest, because that's repeatedly listed in that report, I mean, more than anything, about how it appears as though she's one of your triggers.
I can
And,
see that.
and it also discusses how your state is
Mhm.
up and down
Right.
because of her. It concerns me that you are still in constant contact with her.
Okay.
And even though it's been discussed already that the relationship with her is unhealthy. So I'll be honest, that's one of my primary concerns.
I understand that.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I value feedback.
But you don't think it's a concern?
I do. And I try to look past that because I talk about my issues and then I listen to what she has to say and I listen to what her problems are going on. We talk. Maybe it's I understand what you're saying. I really do. I haven't had, well, let me back this up. I lost my biggest support system while I was in prison, my parents passed away. And I had nobody that would really listen to me the way Julie does. That's my first wife. And she has helped me maintain talking, to help me talk, tell me things that I did in the past while we were together in the early 80s, what I was doing wrong, with behaviors that I didn't remember. I had a lot of gaps in there. I didn't understand I was drinking and partying, and so she helped fill in some of the gaps. And like I said, I really do understand what you guys are saying, and it's a challenge every day. And I don't know if, you know, I listen to my therapist talking about it, listen what they have to say, and at the end of the day, I write about it, how it affects me, and then I look at positive things, because but yet I still talk to her. So, but I see a pattern there too, I do. And so, like I said, I value what you guys are saying, I value what they all say. And I wrote about how she holds me accountable. I should have brought that relapse plan with me. And she holds me accountable. And is it going to be a long-term relationship or anything more than that? I have no idea. So she lives down in Indianapolis right now. And I've got no desire to go down there, because my focus is trying to get me situated with housing, with a job, with treatment, and my support system here.
Have you been asked to leave the TOP at this point, or you're still?
I'm still there. I've got an extension till February 3rd.
Okay, all right. Any more questions on his treatment? Okay. Does anybody else have any questions relating to him? Anybody want to speak either for or against him? All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to deny.
Okay. To 928 Smith Street, correct?
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Just some discussion before we vote on this. My feeling is that based upon the report that's out there and the fact that you haven't had a chance yet to find some additional treatment as well as a job, that's what's concerning to me. I think if you were a little farther along, then for me personally, I would see some path for you. Doesn't mean you can't come back here depending on how this vote goes, but that's my first position on this right now. So, anybody else have any discussion, or we can vote? So a yes means here to.
A yes would be to deny the application.
All right.
Wait a second, everybody has to vote.
We're voting.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Rachel? It did not. You can, my motion, you can have it.
Can I do that?
Mine didn't either, so.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah. Mine did.
Mine did.
Did you get any of us?
I got 3.
Oh, she didn't get yours.
Oh.
So just like Kathy.
Oh, comes up with that.
It is, it's always, anyways, carry on.
All right, motion to deny passes 4-1.
Okay, so here's where you're at right now. So you've been denied right now to move to 928 Smith Street, okay?
Can I break this down?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. Okay, you can come back in front of the board at some future date. I think that's real important when you do come back, that you're enrolled in some sort of continuing treatment program, as well as have found employment. I think those would be two positive steps. Obviously, I can't personally guarantee that you'd be approved by the board, because everybody votes on their own fruition, but those two things I think would be important. Okay?
Get it?
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Have a good evening.
Yep. Next up is Mr. Westlett. All right. Okay, so last time you were here, we approved you for 30 days. And obviously wanted to see where you're at right now, so what do you have for us today?
Actually, it's a sad story.
Okay.
Long story short, the landlord wasn't comfortable with the 30-day approval, so he backed out at the last second. But, so I have not been living there at all.
Okay.
Although, however, in springtime, when he gets an opening and he thinks he's gonna have some in the spring, that he's willing to do the process again.
Okay.
However, if the board would like to see him, I was told to bring a copy of, or a letter from my agent.
Sure.
There's one for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I did not get updated letters from my therapist or my sex offender therapist because I didn't plan on going back there because of landlords not renting to me at the time.
Okay.
But I do have these.
So where are you staying right now then?
I'm still living in the hotel and with my foster parents.
Okay.
I consider my mom and dad.
All right.
Is that your dad? Right
Yes.
there?
So again, just before I go into this, you're okay with talking about your treatment programs in public again?
I would rather not.
Okay. No, it's absolutely your choice. So,
May I just ask a question? Since he's not there right now, would you just take it
Yeah.
off calendar? Or
Make a motion to.
deny?
Yeah, we
because-
have to have a motion.
Okay, and then he can come back as soon as, right.
yeah. So I'll tell you what, we're gonna hand you back your documents.
Okay.
I appreciate you bringing them.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, because you did follow through, which says something, so we really appreciate that. So what,
Can I get a copy just for the file, so that I'll include
If
it
he
in
does
the
apply,
packet
we
next
can
time?
put him in the packet.
sure,
Yeah,
These are the originals, so you can have one of the from FPO though.
okay.
If you don't know if you can make photocopies
I'll be
or.
right back, I'm still gonna.
so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna obviously make a motion to deny at this
Mhm.
particular location. And then I highly suggest then, when you find another location, come back in front of us and
Okay.
and obviously we'll have the information of where you're sitting and we'll move forward from there, okay? So, need a motion to deny to this particular location?
Seconded?
Oh,
Was that my?
no,
You need
first.
to make the
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Okay, so we're gonna make the motion to deny to
You second,
876, I'm sorry, to 1613 Hubbard Street, correct?
613.
Yep. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so, again, really much appreciate you coming here.
Not a
It
problem.
shows a ton of follow-through, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so when you have an opportunity to find another location, please come back in front of us.
I plan on
And I
it.
think, things will be better for you.
And it may very well be at that
Yeah,
location.
it could be, yeah. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yep.
That's totally fine. So,
Okay.
okay, great. Thank you much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next up is Mr. Donald Schenke. All right. Okay, so last time you were here, we denied you, and we looked, the motion basically failed because we were looking to see if we got any more treatment programs before that. So before we talk about that, though, we have the right to do this either in public or private session, which would you prefer?
Public is fine, everybody who's left is with me.
All right, okay. So why don't you tell us where you're at right now then, sir?
I started treatment last month, one-on-one with Jim Drake, and then I meet weekly with the group that he runs with mostly federal offenders. And so I've had 2 meetings, one this morning and one last week.
Okay, do you have any documentation that you're in this program?
I
think
turned
she,
it into
yeah,
the
she
legal
did.
office.
Yep, she did. I think she
Okay.
told me that before we started.
All right.
So I think you have a document from him that he started with Jim Drake.
It should be in the packet. Here it is.
Did you guys see it?
I didn't see it in here.
I didn't see it. Okay. This is a letter proving that he started as of 1/2/20. Maybe you want to see it? Okay. Okay. So the other thing was, oh yeah, I found it now. On page 10 of the packet. So last time when we had talked, if I remember correctly, is you couldn't talk about any type of treatment programs from a federal level because that was illegal, correct? Is that right?
What?
No.
I thought it was related that he couldn't speak in regards to his treatment
If he
programs.
admitted to something, I think it was, he could be charged.
He could be charged, right,
Oh,
right.
right, if I did treatment while I was in federal prison.
Right, okay.
And then I couldn't be referred out until I was actually under the PO's office, which happened December 2nd.
Okay, all right.
Which then, like, the day after the meeting here, we did all the paperwork, and within a week I was seeing Jim.
Okay, all right, okay. So does anybody need more information as to his current status or want to talk about, anything relating to his treatment program?
I don't.
As I say, if anyone has questions too, my parole officer Amy is here.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to speak?
Right, I just wanted to know if you guys had any more questions on the board.
No.
Okay, does anyone want to speak on his behalf against him? Sir, why don't you come on up? Just need your name and address, please.
Larry Eacock, W2259 Chestnut Lane, Freedom, Wisconsin, on behalf of Circles of Support. Just want to say Don's been a positive contributing member of our participant of Circles of Support. Appreciate his contributions that he brings to the table in that discussion. For him personally, it seems like since he started, he's really been trying to take a pragmatic approach to getting himself set up for being successful with the reintegration into the being a positive contributor to society. Really just want to share that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Why don't you come on up?
Oh, one quick question. How long has he been with Circles of Support?
Sir, how long has he been in Circles of Support?
Wow, since like a week or two after you got out. Was it 6
Well,
months
actually,
now?
no, it's been about 5 months now.
Okay.
Okay, come on up.
All right.
Just need your name and address too.
I'm Sarah Leffel. I am with Edit Correctional Services,
Okay.
2670 University Avenue in Green Bay.
Okay.
I am his case manager. I've been working with Don since June. I brought some paperwork that I have, some evidence-based stuff kind of relating to the online offenders and the recidivism, and that their rates are significantly lower than any kind of hands-on offender. So, I mean, it's a quick little fun fact. An analysis of 9 studies on recidivism by child pornography offenders found that only 5% committed another sexual offense in a period of 1.5 to 6 years post-conviction. And the reoffense rate is very low compared to, like I said, the hands-on sex offenders. And drug crimes have a significantly higher recidivism rate of 62.7, and other felonies have a high recidivism rate of 74.2%. Since I've been working with Don, he's, very proactive. He's, caught many of, our documentation mistakes on my end. He's, finished up under the Federal Bureau of Prisons in the beginning of December, and he's been with us as a USPO client. No disciplinary issues or other issues within the house, so it's been a great asset to us.
All right, any other questions for her? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
So my name is Amy Kosmowski. I'm Don's federal probation officer.
Sure, go ahead, ma'am.
I was late for the last meeting, so
I don't know where he was in the agenda, but it was a long meeting last time, so.
He was early. He was
early, okay.
First.
Yeah, I was not here.
Can I get the spelling of your last name?
Sure, it's Kosmoski.
Thank you.
Address is 125 South Jefferson Street, 301. So, I mean, I'm willing to verify any conditions that he has. It's a little confusing, but he was at the halfway house first as a Bureau of Prisons inmate, transitioning back to society, and then since December 2nd as a homeless member of our community. So he has done everything we've asked of him, and maybe more impressive is his attitude. So after he was turned down for the address, and I was like, I missed the meeting, and having a breakdown, Don was completely positive, took responsibility, had a game plan. We reviewed it within 24 hours, and that is not common of many of my clients, period, but not common of my clients who have been convicted of the same offense as Don. So I think that probably speaks more than anything else I could probably tell you.
So from a standpoint, from your perspective, should he continue and still be in treatment programs, in your opinion?
So my office wouldn't allow me to have an opinion about that,
Okay.
but it is a condition of his supervision
Okay.
that he participate in treatment until he's discharged from that treatment. So typically, what Jim Drake has evaluated him for and found him to be probably the best candidate for his group treatment, which meets one day every week for about an hour and a half. And then Jim meets individually with those clients at least once a month. Our officers attend some of those group meetings to kind of reinforce the attendance and make sure that we're able to interact with our clients about what they're working through. And then they do worksheets before and after group, and then they also are working on their individual relapse prevention plan as well.
Okay.
And then as things come up would be safety planning. So, for instance, if Don wanted to join a church and he has a condition that says he can't interact with children under the age of 18 without an adult who knows of his crime being present, so we would refer him to treatment for a chaperone training session with his chosen adult. And so then that would be basically like a safety plan example of what they would come up with so that he could begin community activities that are pro-social for him and develop his support system, and then also making sure everybody in the community is safe and he's following his conditions.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for her?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
All right. Is anybody else? Okay. Does anybody have any more direct questions for him?
No.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Shunke to 2235 Imperial Lane, apartment number 4, address specific.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Has everybody got it up on their screen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
All right, sir, you've been approved to move to 2235 Imperial Lane, apartment number 4. Do you want that sent to that location?
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
By the time I get the letter, I should hopefully be moved over.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Not that no clients, Don. Not that no clients.
You want to send her
All right, if there's nothing else, our next meeting.
I actually have a discussion I'd like
Sure, go
to
ahead.
have. I know that we've discussed this in the past about prolonging somebody 30, 60, 90, 120 days. The reason why I voted no last time for West Ed was 30 days. I mean, we just really ruined this kid's opportunity to have a housing opportunity because it was for 30 days. I know we've been asked to try to avoid that. I guess, I mean, today was 120 days. I think that's something a little bit more realistic that gives somebody plenty of time to get themselves situated back into the community. But 30 days is really just nothing, in my opinion. And obviously his landlord felt that same very way. I think we need to, I mean, I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I think we kind of have to have some guidelines that what's an acceptable amount of time for somebody to be out if we're gonna approve them? I mean, sometimes I can't even in my own life get something accomplished in 30 days. And this kid fortunately was able to do everything we asked of him, but his landlord didn't want to take that risk.
Can't blame the landlord either.
Absolutely. I think approving somebody for 4 months or 6 months, that landlord has a little bit more faith that, okay, well, you're entering into a lease, I'm gonna get something out of it.
Right. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't think we can, as a board, and I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we can formally mandate, you know, it's gotta be for 60 days more or 90 days more. I definitely get the point. I think in this particular case, I think a lot of us at that meeting were really unsure of him and didn't want to put him back out on the street. I think that's why it was a 30-day thing. I think ultimately I agree with you. So if we go that route, I think we're going to end up with more denials, just from a standpoint. Because if I have to wait 120 days for someone I feel somewhat uncomfortable with, I'm probably going to vote to deny more often, and that's okay. I mean,
And I think that's what we should do.
and that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, I agree with you. You know, I could tell obviously he was very upset that, you know, he lost the place, and yet he did everything we asked him to do. So I think it's a consideration. So I mean, I think as we make motions, we ought to definitely consider that. You know?
And that's why I just wanted to bring it up, because I know we've talked about it in the past, and, you know, then sometimes it's, now all of a sudden we've got 30 people on the agenda because we've postponed and postponed and postponed. And I can't keep track in my head how many times we said, okay, well, now this guy's gonna be there in 5 months, and, you know, I know, that's just my
I
opinion.
think we were doing it more before you two were here, weren't we asked to not?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's.
I mean, I think this whole process came out of the fact that we didn't want to necessarily put people out on the streets that we thought were close to getting there, but we wanted to monitor them to see if what they said was actually true, that they had a job and they had certain things, and it's kind of morphed into almost a crutch, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
You know?
Totally.
And it almost borders on another probation,
Yeah,
where, you know, that's why they have probation officers and
Right.
parole agents.
so you know, again, if it ends up in more rejections, well then people are just gonna have to live with that, and if we say, you know, come back in 60 days and tell us how your treatment's going, but for right now, we can't approve you at this location. But I mean, that's okay. If everybody's okay with it, then that's the way the motion should go, if you feel very confident in
What do
it.
you guys feel?
Well, I mean, if there are denials, stating like what prompted you to deny helps us when the applications come back in to see have circumstances changed. Like, what factors were you looking at? If the factor is there is no treatment here, then if they come back and try to apply the next month and they still have no treatment, that helps us inform us what to do. Whereas if they come back 3-4 months down the road and they've got, 2 or 3 different groups or treatment opportunities that they've taken advantage of, then that helps us to better handle knowing, okay, circumstances have changed. Because we're not putting every application that comes back in. If circumstances haven't changed and they've been denied, we're screening those out.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
that's a good
okay.
idea.
All right.
So if there is a close call like that, I mean, that discussion before, a motion's been made, is there any discussion? That's a good opportunity to say, I'm not comfortable with 30 days, I think it should be longer. That's why I'm gonna vote to deny this motion.
Okay.
And that would be a good opportunity to air out those concerns.
Good idea.
Okay. I mean, because I can say I generally, and I mean, I've said it, I know in previous meetings, if you're not from our county, I'm pretty much gonna deny you.
Me
I
too.
don't
That's the way I
care.
feel too.
Because we have way too many of our own people in our own community that want to live here, and I want them to have that first opportunity. And I usually will say that's why I'm denying somebody. But I guess if I would have said that maybe the last time, 30 days, well, I'm not really just comfortable with 30 days. I just didn't feel it, yeah. So I will,
Okay, good. Great discussion.
yeah.
All right, our next meeting is February the 12th. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You have to make the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I said that.
That's why I was doing
Is there a second?
I second. It's like, what did
Oh,
you say?
here's
No.
some-
I signed out the.
Me here.
Should I just mark
That's
all this
damn
as?
Yes,
Yeah, I know.
please.
Talkies.
All right, motion passes unanimously.
Oh, yeah, I already logged off.
Me too.
That's right, he said he,
Okay.
that's an easy one to fill in.